Yes, guys, welcome back to the Lily White Lab. Today, I thought as we are approaching the January window, I thought I would do a little bit of a squad kind of audit and looking at where I'm at with all these players and if they are as bad as some people say, which ones I think should be built around, which ones have this weakness, which one have this strength. Kind of just do a little quick, short summary of where I am with all the players in the squad. Um, because as you know, I'm feeling pretty down on this manager. But there's a lot of repetition in the kind of issues I'm seeing, and I don't want to continue to just repeat myself about the things that I think are the problem in this team. So I thought I'd do a bit more of like a player focused episode, if you want to call it, and yeah, just focus on the players themselves and what players we have and what they're good at and what they're not good at. I think there's some real surgery that's needed in this squad, but contrary to a lot of other people's opinions, I think this is a top eight at least squad with some major holes that could take it higher. But I think we are not seeing anywhere near that kind of level at the moment. But yeah, it's not going to be a very highly edited video. It's going to be pretty raw, just me giving my thoughts on each player. Before I get into it, please do make sure you subscribe if you are new. Please do hit the notification bell as we're trying to give you about 4 or 5 videos per week at the moment. And please do share this with any other Tottenham fan you think would enjoy it. But let's get into it. So starting with a pretty controversial one in Vicario. Now, I've gone on record to say that I think Vicario is definitely upgradable. On the ball, I want to start with, I think his short passing game is fine. And I know people will speak about the Gray mistake. I personally don't think that was on Vicario. Don't think it's that big of a deal. These mistakes happen. Gray should have swept that to Romero with his right foot. He just chose to receive it on his left foot. Don't think that's Vicario's problem. I think we see passes like that 5 times in every single Premier League game. And it was an issue from Gray, and that happens. In terms of Vicario's abilities, I think he is a good shot stopper. I think he struggles with shots from range at times. I think he's a pretty good shot stopper in close proximity. Definitely upgradable because of his mid to long range passing. I think short passing, he's pretty serviceable. But again, I don't think his commanding of the box, especially from set pieces, is good enough. He doesn't come and collect crosses. And so I think his level is kind of capped. I think he's been a good keeper for us, but I think he's definitely upgradable. For me, I wouldn't prioritize this upgrade though. I think there's bigger issues than Vicario. I think one of the main things that's forcing him to make these errors are we are conceding so many shots from the edge of the box with crowded penalty areas. Because Frank wants to overload the box, he chooses to put a lot of bodies in the box rather than marking the spaces outside the box and the players outside the box. And so these shots come through a lot of bodies, and Vicario struggles with that. So, like I said, upgradable but not priority for me. Dragusin. For me, he should be moved on. I think his value is obviously at a lower point than where it should be. So maybe we start with a loan. I don't think a player with his on the ball issues is ever really going to make it at Spurs. I think he could be serviceable. I think Frank would probably like him because he's very dominant in the box. But I think where we want to be, you can't really afford to have someone with that low technical quality. Really think he'll have a good career. At a team that really values his qualities somewhere. I think at the top level, being a progressive type team, you can't really afford to carry someone who struggles with the basic technical levels. But really hope that he can get his career back on track after that bad injury. Yeah, like I said, drive up his value a bit with a loan, maybe initially, maybe back to Serie A where he's played before, and then hopefully sell permanently in the future. Danso, been a very, very good player, I think, when called upon. I think defensively, good in kind of a high possession progressive system because he can defend space. He's very physically capable. He reads space well as well. I think on the ball, his qualities are not great. They're okay for now. I think long term, we'd be looking to upgrade him as a whatever he is, the third or fourth choice. But I think for now, definitely a good squad player. I really like his character as well. And suits what Frank wants to do. But I think Danso has been very good since joining. I think long term where we want to be is probably not of the level on the ball, but very decent option for now. I'd keep him for now. João Palhinha, I'm not going to go on and on about this, but again, I would terminate that loan. Or not terminate, but just, whatever, let it run its course. You can't afford to carry a player who offers nothing in midfield on the ball. No top teams have midfielders that can't do the simple basics of progressing the ball. An elite tackler, would be probably one of the best players of all time at a lower level club. You know, I think he'd change the lives of West Ham, those sorts of clubs. I think he'd be one of their best ever players. I think for us, we want to dominate games. You can't afford to have a midfielder. Now, I want to be clear, a midfielder where all of your play goes through, who doesn't show for the ball enough. When he does, looks stiff, can't turn out under pressure, can't progress the ball through the lines. So for me, good player, wrong fit. Let's let that loan expire. Xavi Simons, you know, I'm super high on Xavi Simons. I think it's been a really tough start to his Spurs career. I think he's receiving the ball in really low volume. I think when he does receive the ball, he's not being cutthroat enough. I think he's kind of losing. It seems like losing a bit of interest at the moment. Not putting enough care on some of his passes. I think his quality is so much higher than he's showing. He has had real good moments, and I think if you get him in a side that's really progressive, you'll see an absolute brilliantly talented player who can change games on his own. Just a real talent, super young as well. He's the kind of player Spurs should be looking to invest in. That sort of profile where they're on the younger side, but they have real good first team experience. Plenty of minutes in the tank, even though he's just 22. But still room to grow. I think Xavi Simons is the perfect type of signing Spurs should be looking to make going forward. Obviously, really big fan of him. Bissouma, he is everything. Well, Bissouma at his best is everything this squad misses. The ability to receive under pressure, change the picture, be able to turn out, take two players out of the game, and then get us playing. While Bissouma was never really an amazing progressive passer, at least he could progress the ball through his carrying and his press resistance. Really missing like a peak Bissouma at the moment. Obviously, off the pitch stuff is taking over with him. Obviously, the right time to part ways with him. But you know, I know he's spoken about his mental health, so wish him all the best. Don't feel any kind of anger towards him about the balloon incident. I think unprofessional for sure, but these players are human, they make mistakes. I think the right time to part ways, though, is now. Richarlison, God, he's got a crazy good goal record at the moment. But that is literally it. He offers zero in possession. And while I said you can't carry a midfielder, I think strikers you can maybe carry a bit more. And we'll get on to Brennan Johnson and so maybe other people we're kind of having to carry. Richarlison, I think it's the right time to part ways. I think his body's given up on him. He can't move well. He's still got a knack of being able to fight defenders in the box and find bits of space and get on the end of things. But it's very scruffy. I think a top team needs someone who's a cleaner footballer. I love Richarlison. Really hope he has the best rest of his career. But I think, again, right time to part ways. James Maddison. Now, if he can come back the same James Maddison as before the injury, he's a key player, like an absolutely top player who's able to really receive the ball on any bit of the pitch, out wide, in the 6 role, in the 8 role, not necessarily play those roles, but come in dropping deep and be able to pick it up in those areas for sure. Press resistance, can just change the picture of a game with one little look and a play through the lines. Just an excellent footballer. The only issue is his fitness, obviously. I think Xavi Simons will come into this team and not Xavi Simons, sorry. James Maddison will come. I think James Maddison will come into this team and take it up a level. And he'll do that for any team in the country. I think he's that good. It's just about his fitness, really, and how much that ACL is going to affect him. But we're really missing someone of his personality as well. Massive fan of his. Hopefully he comes back the same. Matisse Tel, I think him and Audit should be kind of grouped together at the moment. Neither of them have made that left wing position their own since Frank came in. Very opposite personalities. Matisse Tel has that self-belief that if you could sell, you'd make millions. Like the amount of belief he has with all the criticism he's faced, he's still a really good player at creating his own shooting opportunities, which I think is worth its weight in gold. But there's a lot more rounding that needs to come for his game. His technical refinement needs work. But if you can channel the ability for him to create his own shots in the final third and be able to really whip the ball so well, there's a player there for sure. He is a 100% what it means as a project player. It's difficult with him and Audit. I think one of them should be loaned out and definitely not sold permanently. I think they're both good talents, arguably top talents, but need a lot of work in different ways. And I think Tel Basically, one of them needs to be loaned out. I don't really have a strong opinion on which, but I think they're kind of blocking each other's pathways at the moment. So Tell for me, definitely a keep, but I think needs first team football to really round off his game technically. Udogie, this is a really sad one at the moment, but I just think he can't stay fit and we can't rely on him. I think at his best, he's one of the best left backs in the world. I think he has the skill set of a modern fullback. He can dominate his whole flank going forward and defensively. He can receive it infield. He can receive it up the touchline. He's great at carrying into space. Um, he's just a really well-rounded fullback who's so talented, but his injuries are really starting to affect him. And at the moment, we don't really have a fit left back in the squad. We definitely need a left back regardless of the Udogie situation. I would bring that left back in and hopefully that withdraws a bit of responsibility and pressure on Udogie. We can get him kind of fitter and hopefully those two can battle it out going forward and we can move Spence back to the right. I really hope those injuries aren't the kind of death of his Spurs career, but at the moment, he can't be relied upon. Bring in that left back, 6 months' time, see where Udogie is at with his fitness, and then we go from there. Whether we need another left back after that, we'll see. Archie Gray, I think really happy with him so far this season. I know he made a mistake on the weekend. I don't think Frank has improved any of our players, but I think just seeing Archie Gray more has been positive. He is mentally ahead of his years. I think he's technically and physically very ready for the senior game. Just about minutes with him now. I think those kind of mistakes that he made on the weekend are things that come with experience, and you learn the kind of touches you need to take in those areas and when to be secure and when to be brave instead. Just happy with Archie Gray. I think he's so well rounded. I think he's going to be a really, really good player for Spurs, but he needs some help in midfield for sure. Signings are needed in midfield. We can't rely on Archie Gray yet, I don't think. We'll see how he continues to develop, but really, really still positive on Archie Gray. Bergvall for me are probably our crown jewel talent, especially in the first team squad. Just has everything to become a top midfielder. Needs a lot of work on his tactical side of the game, I think, which for me is the one part of the game that can be coached best out of physical, technical and tactical. Just makes some immature decisions at times, but his ability to carry the ball is so good. He can cover ground well. His footwork is so nice. He's got that bit of magic as well that can create things out of nothing. Just the perfect modern midfielder because he has everything that is needed. I think long term he'll be a number 8. I really hate him in the number 10. I don't think he gets the best out of any of his attributes. He looks clunky there. He looks uncomfortable there. His ability to receive in the midfield and then drive into those 10 areas, much better. For me, he needs to be facing play, not facing with his back to goal or on the half turn. Again, don't like him in the 6 role yet because I think he's too risky in his play and taking it from the back line. But maybe in the future, he can create a bit more of a security in his game where he can receive off that back line and help us progress play. Bergvall needs more minutes in midfield. He hasn't had hardly any minutes in midfield. Big problem for me. One of our best talents. Best player at the club, Romero, for me, without a doubt. I think my one issue with him is he does get disinterested pretty quickly when things aren't going our way. He can drag you through games, in big games. I think the league campaign is when he gets a bit disinterested, especially when there's nothing to play for. And he's only really been at Spurs when there's nothing to play for, really, in terms of the league. I think he looks fed up when we're 2-0 down in certain games. He just kind of runs up front and kind of everything else goes out the window. Worried for the relationship between him and the club because he's way better than where we are. But then his worst side comes out because of that, if that makes sense. I think he can go up a level if we go up a level. But his ability on the ball and defensively is a joke. His line-breaking passing is, for me, the best in the world. We need to see a more consistent level from him, but I also think that the club need to be more consistent for him, if that makes sense. We need to invest. We need to build a better project for someone like him. And that's not absolving him from blame because I think sometimes his attitude isn't good enough. But I can imagine why that is. He's way above this level. I think if you put, let's say, like a Cristiano Ronaldo in this team, and I know he's an attacking player, he'd lose interest as well. So many of the top players would. It's a shambles at the moment. But yeah, I think Romero, if we can keep him, 100% build around him. Solanke, I don't know what's going on with this guy's injury. A very reliable player, someone that will normally give you a certain level in every single game because his technical quality is so good. The ball sticks to him. His link play is really, really good. His ability to receive it and then turn and run into space, very, very good. Not a sharp shooter at all. His trigger's very slow. So I think he's capped in terms of his ability to be a top striker, but far more problems in the squad than the number 9. I think if Solanke can get back fit, he does improve us. With Kolo Muani, I think both of them can be a nice pair to rotate with at the moment. Not priority to replace him. I think he's a very good player and will bring a lot when he comes back, hopefully, if that injury doesn't kind of affect him. But really, really excited to see his return. I think he's a very good Premier League player. And for where we're at, to be honest, we're probably lucky to have someone like him as our 9. If we can actually create situations that benefit him, like get him the ball. But yeah, excited for his return. Long term, I think he's upgradable, but for now, definitely a good player. Kudus, been probably our best signing this summer. Just an outrageous skill set where his ball retention combined with his physicality and duels, his acceleration, his 1v1 ability, his press resistance with his back to goal. We have served him a whole load of nonsense this season with throwing balls to his chest, to his head, and he's bringing them down and fighting off 2 or 3 players just to get us up the pitch. I mean, it's not the circumstances I would use someone like this in. I think there's so much talent there. I think he can go up a level if we put him in a more progressive system, but just a really, really good talent. I think at times his head is too down. He needs to be able to lift his head in the final third and pick that right pass. This can come, I think, and even if it doesn't come, we still have a very good player there that if you provide more volume in favourable situations, he's going to create more and more chaos and create more and more goals from it. A great player who is playing under really, really difficult circumstances in the way that we're using him, and a lot of our players built around his physical and technical capabilities, which must be very, very exhausting. But just a very, very good signing and a very good player. Kulusevski, and similar to Kudus in plenty of ways, where he has that combination of technical ability with physical and the ability to hold people off. Plays in a similar position, although I think Frank would probably deploy him as a 10. I think he suits Frank's 10 of the ability to carry from deep, rather than like being that nimble in between the lines player, as someone that can carry you into space. I think Kulusevski fits that. I think Frank would love Kulusevski. I'm so excited for his return as well. It's just about how well these players come back from injury. I think Kulusevski, again, the potential of a top player. We saw it for half of last season. He was unplayable at times. Really interested to see how his career ends up in terms of position. Obviously, we've got Kudus on the right now. I thought under Frank he would play more on the right. That was prior to Kudus joining. I'm interested to see where he gets deployed, but I think he's the kind of player that can really go up a level. Suits transitional football. I think suits all types of football. He's that kind of player. So wouldn't worry about him with a more kind of progressive possession-based manager either. Just a modern footballer, like has the physical and athletic capability to survive in the Premier League, but also that technical bit of magic as well. Excited for his return. Brennan Johnson, I think definitely time to part ways. Like I said, we can't afford to carry players in possession anymore. We need to really increase our technical level. Brennan Johnson is not of the required level if you want to be a top club. You can't afford to have a winger, especially if they're playing on the touchline, who can't control the ball under pressure in less than 4 touches. Just clunky and uncoordinated in possession, has that beautiful timing of a run, which could be utilized in so many different teams. If you build around his ability to arrive in the box and get on the end of things, you have a great player there. A Premier League level player for sure, but not where Spurs should be aiming for, especially now where I think we have to start being cutthroat. And Brennan Johnson is someone who still has a bit of market value, so it's the time to definitely part ways before that market value starts to drop with less game time. So happy for what he did in the Europa League final. Really like him as a character. Just think it's the time to move on now. Pedro Porro, the man who never ever gets injured. I think his performances have fallen off a cliff recently, but I think he's been overplayed to the max. He plays pretty much every game and he always plays the majority of games. Really like him in that more reserve role where he can spray passes. Like that kind of thing that Frank has done with him, although it hasn't been utilised to the best way possible. I think, in my opinion, I would like to see him threading more passes into midfield rather than just clipping it down the line. But like him in that role, I think a lot of people see him as a wing back. I don't see him as a wing back. I really think in the modern game, someone like Porro is someone better being able to create from deep. I think wing backs now need to have more physical and athletic capabilities and probably 1v1 abilities going forward that he doesn't have. He could be serviceable as a wing back, but I really think this role that he's playing this season suits him well if he's used differently in that role, if that makes sense. Very good technician, should be kept, should have Spence on the right to deputise to allow him rest because he never has had enough rest since joining. And while he doesn't get injured, his performances fall off a cliff when he's overplayed. That moves me on to Jed Spence. Really like him as a rotation option. I think he provides a bit of a rounded, complete profile. I think defensively 1v1, he's one of the best. On the ball in pressure situations, he's calm. He's able to get out of trouble. I think his final third play needs a lot of work. But if you use him right and you use his carrying ability and his defensive solidity, then you have a very good fullback there. Really good physical and athletic profile as well, and can play both sides, which is great for rotation level fullback. Kota Takai, we have barely seen. I had quite high hopes for him. Again, project player. Never thought he'd do much this season, especially with the centre-back options we have. Just want to see him play a couple games. I think he's a very modern centre-back, very good on the ball, good height about him. But we need to see more and how it translates to this level. But one of the most exciting talents out of Asia, for sure, came with a bit of hype as well. Unluckily, started with a big injury. So let's see how he kind of settles. Wilson Odobert, so much talent in this guy's skill set. The ability to dribble off both feet, the ability to receive off both feet. The angles that he can play off are endless. He can cut inside onto his right. He can come really narrow. He can attack his fullback and then cut in and shoot. He can go down the line. The issue with him is he doesn't have the arrogance. He doesn't believe in his ability enough. He doesn't have that, like, I'm going to win this duel no matter what type mentality. And that really caps him. I hope that he develops that at some point because he has all the technical attributes to be a top player. I think his acceleration is really good as well to match. I think he never really brings a net negative to the team. I think he doesn't bring a net positive to the team enough. I think he's often just there, just coasting through games. Possession-wise and technical-wise, he's very secure. He won't lose the ball that often in like possession-type sequences, but he doesn't do enough in the final third to make a difference. For me, like I said, one of him and Tell need to be out on loan. The other one, let's have them as a project and really give them meaningful minutes to develop. I would still bet my house on one of him or Tell becoming top players at least. I really believe in both of them. I don't know which one it's going to be. It could be both, but I think the chances are that one of them really does make it and becomes a top player. Sarr, this is a really difficult one. He started the season so well. So good out of possession. One of the best players out of possession in the league. I think in possession, he hasn't developed enough. And I think his management of minutes has been really poor. His management of role has been really poor. It's a difficult one with him. I don't think he's at the level right now. And when we're trying to restructure our midfield with signings, I think he might become collateral damage with that. I would loan him out if possible in Europe or something like that to really get him a run of games in midfield and see what he's about. I really like him as a person. I think he's I think he is the most likable player in the squad. Like I love him. I just worry about with Bergvall and Gray and Sarr. I don't think all of them are going to be able to cut it at Spurs. There's too many number 8s, carrier type players in one squad, and they're all of the similar age profile. So I think one of them is going to have to make way, even if that's on loan first. I would probably look at loaning Sarr out in the summer. Hopefully he has a great AFCON and can finish this season strong with us. But I think this midfield badly needs surgery now, and we're going to have to be ruthless with some of these players. And Sarr might be one of them. Bentancur he just gets worse. He gets worse and worse every game this season. I've never rated him massively apart from that first season under Conte. I even thought in the second season under Conte he was a bit overrated. I think he worked really well under Conte because he didn't have to think. And I think when Bentancur has time to think, he doesn't do enough with that. Conte had these certain patterns and automations that really suited a player like Bentancur, where everything was pre-planned. So as soon as he received the ball off the wing back, he knew exactly what he was going to do. He was going to fire it into Kulusevski's feet or whatever it was. Very rehearsed patterns that when you have the technical level that he does, because he's a technically good footballer, and the physical level to carry it out, that's perfect. He just does exactly what Conte tells him, and he does it to a good level because he's that good of a footballer. When more freedom comes into it and you have to actually set the initiative yourself, I think he's been poor. He's been poor out of possession. He leaves gaps. He charges around chaotically. On the ball, I think he's become more and more cowardly, and I think part of this is due to the injuries, but he neglects line breaking passes all the time. I don't know why we signed him to a new contract. I said it at the time. I don't know why we've done that because now we're clogging up another midfield spot. I think we should get rid of him, and I think we should get rid of Polina, and we should bring in two top technicians in midfield. It looks like we're going to have to see him for the long run, which for me makes no sense. But that's my thoughts on Bentancur. Kinski, one of the best goalkeepers on the ball I've ever seen, but literally struggles to save anything. Loan, needs a loan. Need to see him at a first team level consistently to see how his shot stopping can develop. I think on the ball, he's everything you want in a modern keeper. He really transforms your build up. But if you can't actually goalkeep, then that's never gonna cut it. Was really excited when he came in. I think he is worlds and worlds apart from Vicario on the ball. But again, needs to see more from his goalkeeping. So hopefully he'll get a loan in this summer, and then we can get like a backup keeper who can fill his role. Ben Davies, I mean, Jesus Christ, it's 2025 and this guy's still part of the squad, which just really sums up where this club is. Um, Lovely guy. I'm sure he's great in the dressing room. We can have him around the dressing room, but he cannot be relied upon as an actual player. Cool, have him in the squad, have him around the building, get his kind of take on everything. I really think that's a valuable thing to have. But when he's coming on at left back in 2025, your club is in a real mess, a real mess. Like this is not even a joke. Like he has been at this club for over 10 years, and I think he's been upgradable for half of that time, and we still are relying on him in 2025. He came on the other day, took a corner, which I was just like, what the hell? Great servant to the club, but come on, like let's upgrade now. We need a left back badly. Van der Ven, I think arguably the only player who's gone up a level since Frank joined. Whether this is down to Frank or not, who knows? But I think he's becoming a more complete centre back. Although against Nottingham Forest, I thought he was awful. Still struggles to defend his box. Still struggles to track runners in those kind of tighter moments. Definitely a front-footed defender. Definitely a defender that works best in a high energy, high possession, aggressive system. Struggles more when he's defending his own box, although I think he's got better at that. His passing game is coming on as well. I think he's starting to really break lines, just like Romero does, obviously not to the same extent, but really happy with him over anyone in the squad. Obviously just did that Gary Neville interview today. I'm yet to watch it. But I hear that he hasn't said anything controversial or anything. So hopefully we can build around him. We really need to keep players like him and Romero happy if we want to go and do serious things. And that means being ruthless with the squad, probably being ruthless with the manager as well. So yeah, amazing footballer. What a signing he was as well when that wasn't the preferred option for many people. Great recruitment in terms of Van der Ven. The exact type of signing we should be making. The right age profile, the right amount of experience, and not for crazy amount of transfer value, but wages with room to grow. So we're not paying crazy wages when they arrive, but if they perform, then we can increase their contract. I think the perfect kind of player we should be signing. Kolo Muani, I'll swear by the fact that we haven't seen anything yet in terms of what he's capable of. I think he's still capable of so much more, but our forwards don't get the ball, and I've said this so many times. He doesn't get the ball enough to show what he's really worth. I think he's shown it in glimpses, shown it in moments, but the system is killing him right now. I think he's a player who can play across the front line to a very good level. He's technically really good, great in transition because he's able to cover ground so well. Not a really clinical finisher, but he gets shots off. So the amount of volume of shots he can get off, you hope that will come with some goal return, and it has in his career. I think this should be made permanent. I think he's one of the best striker options we could get at the level we're at now. And I think it brings a bit of experience to a squad where we're not going to go and spend 90 million on a 25-year-old striker. So if you can get him for 30, 40 million, great for this moment, for sure. Brandon Austin, there for homegrown reasons, I'm sure. I'm not really sure what else to say on him. Yeah, whatever. And then Dane Scarlett is the last one. I'm not going to go into the loan players because this video is probably very long. Dane Scarlett, I think, probably needs to leave for his sake. There's, 3 or 4 strikers ahead of him in the pecking order. His management of development, again, has been really bad. I think he came through at the worst possible time for being a Spurs Academy player when it was an absolute mess under Mourinho in terms of the integration. I think we're getting closer towards a good integration, although the manager obviously isn't a typical one to bring through youth, but I think the setup of the academy is in a much better place now than it was when he broke through, which is unfortunate for him. But I think he just needs to go out and get playing, and hopefully he can drop down to League One or Championship and hopefully build his way up to the Premier League again. I've kind of brushed off people being like, we need to see what Scarlett can do. I think he's 3 years older than Matisse Tell, and achieved very little of what Matisse Tell has in terms of the teams he's played for, the level he's played at. There's no point in banking on him over Tell for me as a 9. There's plenty of good academy players coming through, so if you guys want like an academy player to put your hopes on, I wouldn't say it's Scarlett at this point, although I really hope that he has a great career. That's it though. Thanks for watching. Please do subscribe if you enjoyed the video. That was a bit of a long one, and as you can tell, I'm not super positive about the club right now, but hopefully the January transfer window is coming around. I've got a great video on our next midfield signing coming up this Thursday, where I analyse 5 to 10. I've analysed 30 or so midfielders, but I'm going to narrow it down to 5 or 10 to talk through which ones are attainable, which ones suit what we need. I've ranked all their attributes, ranked their scalability, their attainability, how much they'd cost, what their age is, etc., etc. It's going to be a very detailed but hopefully insightful video for you guys. But yeah, look forward to a bit of a break from Spurs. I know we only get like 8 days off, but yeah, hopefully we can turn this form around. Hopefully, in my eyes, we have a new manager soon. But thanks for watching, and come on you Spurs.